I'm Rex Rogosh, and let's queer up faith. Vatican study includes LGBTQ Catholics' testimonies for the first time. The Vatican has released a new study group report that is drawing attention for including detailed testimonies from LGBTQ Catholics, a move that advocates are calling historic. The report was produced by theologians and pointed to examine issues left unresolved during the Synod on Synodality, the global listening initiative launched under Pope Francis. While the Synod itself avoided directly addressing queer inclusion, the report tackled sexuality, gender, and church reform in unprecedented detail. Father James Martin, founder of Outreach, an LGBTQ Catholic ministry, said, quote, "It's a big deal. As far as I know, it's the first time that in any official publication of the Vatican, they've included witnesses and testimonies and stories from LGBTQ Catholics in any kind of detailed way," end quote. The report includes testimonies from 2 married gay men and condemns the devastating effects of reparative therapies aimed at recovering heterosexuality. It also acknowledges the Church's role in enabling, quote, "the solitude, anguish, and stigma," end quote, experienced by LGBTQ people and their families. The report has also drawn criticism from far-right Catholic outlets, LifeSiteNews, which questioned the document's lack of emphasis on, quote, "the sinful nature of homosexuality," end quote. Well, I mean, there's always going to be the naysayers. Everybody knows and has watched any of this, knows how I feel about organized religion in general, and I'm not a fan. And I find that, Catholicism is just a giant, cult.
Tell us what you really think. Keep going.
However, it's nice to see, because I have done some reports through school and whatnot on the way the Vatican actually sees things versus what they actually say in public. And so it's interesting to see the difference in different popes and how they kind of look at their own scripture, look at their own rules and regulations, and just like any lawmaker goes, oh, well, there's some wiggle room there. So it's nice to see that they're actually taking into account that they do know that there's LGBTQ people that are Catholic and that believe in that faith, and they're starting to posture towards at least listening to them. Doesn't mean anything's going to change, but this shows a positive step. And then you're obviously going to have people who read scripture like it's, black and white, this is what it is, and they're going to say, no, this is wrong. But I do commend the Pope for actually putting this out there and saying, hey, they're there, let's at least listen to them.
Sure. There's always been a rift, between conservative Catholics and, more progressive Catholics. You got people, talking heads on TV, kind of like how I am right now as a talking head, but you have talking heads on TV like Phil Donahue. He's actually a conservative Catholic commentator, and he talks about, to quote our story, the sinful nature of homosexuality. And he's always out there with his bullhorn, talking about, how, gays are perverse and sinful and all of that. So it's nice to see that, an official publication of the Vatican is actually, maybe they're not going 100% all in, but they're definitely not going in the other direction where they're denying our existence. I'm not speaking myself as a Catholic. I'm a good Jewish boy here, but it's quite interesting to kind of see, like the splits, like where the land, lines up with, certain people. And there's, even with our previous, even with the previous Pope, there were a lot of people that felt as though, he was not in line with, historical church teachings. I think the only way for the church to really maintain its flock is to get with the times, embrace, embrace the fact that they are an ancient institution at this point, but also understand that they have to operate in a world where people are changing their views on things. Right. So,
No, absolutely. And what I find funny is, the people that sit there and go, the ancient teachings. I'm like, you didn't read Aramaic. You didn't read Latin. I took 5 years of Latin. So if anybody wants to debate this with me, we can go ahead.
In Latin?
You can't really speak it, but we can start translating.
Okay. Yeah.
But, what I find funny is that, you've got these people who talk about that, and there's a lot of there's a lot of doctrine in the church that isn't against sexuality, isn't against same-sex marriage, and also, if I remember correctly, in pretty much any religion, including everybody on earth is a sinner.
Right.
And everything that you do is a sin. Right. So let's not just call out one person or one sect or one culture that they're this big sin, when everybody on the planet is technically a sin because somebody died for those sins.
Right.
Right.
Well, this is way out of my wheelhouse. So I consulted earlier with a very, very close friend who's a former priest with the Roman Catholic Church and is now a priest with the Reformed Catholic Church, which is an inclusive, affirming, progressive Catholic Church that has full equity for women and LGBTQ people in all levels of ministry and leadership. And he said some really interesting things, including that this far-right anguish about this from the Catholics, they're upset because it's official. It's now a report. It's in print. Instead of being this, idea in the air, it's in print. So that's really got them pissed off. And he said that he also did the inclusion of the married couples that were part of it. Of course, they were married outside of the Catholic Church because they won't perform those kinds of marriages. It's fine, but what about the millions of others who were ignored by their bishops? And there are plenty of those. And he says, how many times have they cracked this door open? This is not the first time. And where has it gotten us? He's described this as, quote, another plastic flower in a bouquet, end quote.
Oh.
Absolutely. Well, not to belabor this story, but Catholic documents does say that they will recognize any marriage as long as it's legal by law. And marriage was created by Romans under law, not religion. So I'm not going to go any further on that, but y'all can look it up. It's history. It's in the books. Go to the library. It's free. So there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.